So they're following this thing that goes back to ancient times and certainly in ancient Judaism.
And the principle of it is very simple.
Mhm.
At the end of 29 days, since the beginning of the previous month, you go out around sunset and you observe the moon. If you can see the new crescent, then the old month is over. It was 29 days long, and you look over the western horizon because this is where you can see the new moon. If you observe it, if you sight it, then the previous month is over. It was 29 days long, and on that evening, the new month begins.
Okay.
If you do not observe it, and it can be that it just isn't yet visible, or there are clouds in the sky, or dust, something like that. If you don't observe it, then you make the month 30 days long, and the beginning of the month is on the following day. And Karaites didn't actually observe the moon on the following day because they were the idea was that it'll definitely be visible after 30 days since the previous new moon.
So it was by default the next day.
It was by default the next day. So that's the basic procedure, and it's very simple. And again, it's the same basic procedure as all lunar calendars based on the new moon observation are following. But nature obviously never listens to our basic procedures.
Okay.
For a number of reasons, it is difficult to observe the new moon. It's very faint, it's very small, it sets soon after sunset. So you can miss it.
Yeah.
You can observe a whiff of cloud and think it's the new moon. Or they can generally very simply be clouds and you can't observe it. And if it happens in 1 month, that's all right. But for example, if there are clouds there a number of months in a row, you're going to be out widely compared to the new moon. So Karaites had all sorts of additional rules. They had to introduce additional rules, not just rely on observation only.
So like what are some examples of these
For example,
rules?
They had a rule of how many full months of 30 days are allowed in the calendar and how many months of 29 days are allowed in the calendar. They said there was a bit of a disagreement.
Okay. I'm shocked. All right.
But I think, if I remember correctly, everybody agreed that there can be no more than 4 30-day months.
Okay.
But how many 29 days in a row? There can be some said 4, some said 3. If I remember correctly. And it is interesting that at least some authorities, like Levi ben Yafet, and those who followed him, because Levi ben Yafet was really foundational for later legal thinking. And calendar is part of legal thinking, obviously.
Okay.
So Levi ben Yafet said that if you had 4 full months in a row, you don't need to observe the moon in the following after 4 full months because.
Oh, wow. Because you assume the next one's 29 days.
Yeah, it's bound to be there because you're bound to be out.
Well, no, this is interesting. I'll tell you why this is interesting. And I'm speaking here from experience of observing new moons. If you have 4 30-day months in a row, first of all, you could have 4 to 30-day months in a row with perfect clear clouds, astronomically as possible. Sorry, with perfect clear conditions without any clouds, right? Meaning in an ideal observing conditions, you could have 4 30-day months. And all it would take was 1 month with cloud, and 3 30-day months is easy, right? And the fourth one, let's say, is clouds. So what could happen at the end of that is the moon is visible on the 27th or 28th day.
There's a discussion about that.
So and we'll talk about that in a minute. But maybe I wonder if he's saying you don't need to look because he doesn't want you to go look. I don't know. I wonder. I once had a situation where we went in this modern times. This is 21st century, where the moon was visible after it was a 28-day month because there'd been clouds, and the next month we went and looked for the moon, and it was what we call nir'a ba'alil, which is a term specifically that comes from the context of the calendar, meaning it was seen blatantly by anybody who don't even have to go up to a hilltop and look. You can just see it up high in the sky. So it was nir'a ba'alil. It was clearly visible to anybody who looked, and so we ended up with a 28-day month. And I had a man who flew across the United States to confront me about this. And he was so upset. He said, you told me there could only be a 29-day month. And I said, but we saw it. What did you want me to do? He said, you shouldn't have looked. And he meant it. He felt betrayed that we had looked and seen the moon when I had been wrong. I thought it couldn't happen, but it happened. So this is discussed. So talk about this.
This is
golden right here. Everybody pay attention. What do they say?
This isn't discussed. So after 4 30-day months, you don't need to observe. I don't think it's because you're not supposed to see it. I think it's because
it's a tircha, it's a pain.
Exactly. Why go to
why
the pain
put yourself out? Okay.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
But there is a discussion. There's a famous passage in the Babylonian Talmud that about Rabban Gamliel.
Okay.
When they, I think it's in Sanhedrin 20a or b, but don't catch me on that.
We'll put it up on the screen here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that the sky was clouded for a number of months, and then the people saw the moon. And here you need to pay attention because in the printed Talmud it says on the 29th day.
Oh wow!
But in many earlier manuscripts, it actually says on the 27th, after 27, not 29, but 27.
Oh wow!
But Rabban Gamliel, and the people were preparing to sanctify the moon because they saw the crescent. But Rabban Gamliel said, no, I have a tradition that a month can only be 29 days and a half and 793 parts.
Okay.
And the Karaites discuss this and say, well, of course the moon appeared after 27 days because they had a run of 30-day months due to clouds, and the actual crescent appeared before the 30 days. And
in the previous months.
Previous months.
Okay.
And they say
it just wasn't visible because of clouds.
Because of that, exactly.
Wow.
So, and they say Rabban Gamliel didn't fix the month when the crescent appears for reasons of expediency. That's what it says.
Who says that in the Talmud?
The Karaites say.
Oh, okay.
They discuss this story and say Rabban Gamliel didn't fix it for reasons of expediency, but we do it. So I have an impression that
back up.
Sometimes
we, the Karaites of the 10th, 11th century.
Yeah, we would do it.
So if we see it after 27 days, then that 28th day is the beginning of the next month.
Yeah.
Wow! We say in English, drop the mic and walk away. That was amazing.